It's My Little Underground. I'm Peter A. Back after an entire summer off of just being burnt out of everything, mostly social media. It really just annoys me, and to think that I have to re-download all the apps again to promote this show kind of makes me sick. Big shout out to my brother Smiley Ariaga for making some new intro music for the show because I was getting kind of tired of my old intro. Big shout out to Ed Kelly who did the voiceover of my old outro. But it's time to do something new. I'm kind of working on some ideas of a new intro, so that should be coming soon, maybe in the new year. We'll see. But over the summer, over my burnout break, I did do some recordings of some great interviews that I'm going to share with you this month. And the first of which is Kaye Loggins, who performs as Time Warp. She put out a great album this summer called Spiro World, and she talks all about the challenges of working with artists because of her very experimental sound, and the challenges and successes of booking shows, DJing, not caring about song length, and so much more. Please help me welcome Kaye Loggins, who performs as Time Warp right here on My Little Underground. Thank you for coming on My Little Underground. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Did you grow up in New York?
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, Atlanta. Yeah, I have family down in Atlanta. Beautiful city.
Born and raised.
Yeah. Did you lose the accent since coming up to New York?
Yeah, it's weird. My mom has a bit of an accent, but I was around my grandmother mostly when I was like young, so I had a pretty strong one, and then I lost it when I went to school because it like in the 80s 90s era it was like very people coming from other places, and then I lived in the UK for 2 years in like 7th and 8th grade, and I kind of picked it up there, like I picked that accent up, and then I didn't realize it, and I got back, and yeah, I don't know. So now it's this weird, like, Boston's in there too. I lived in Boston. I think I got rid of all my, like, Boston linguistic stuff. But yeah, just some kind of mid-Atlantic shit going on that I don't really.
Yeah. Did you ever go to? Yeah.
When I tell people I'm from Atlanta, that's usually one of the only things they say is like, well, but you don't have an accent. Like, what is that? That says way more about you than.
Yeah. It does. Yeah, the stereotypes. I get it. The one thing I noticed about the Bandcamp, there's two things on the Bandcamp description of your album that I really want to talk about that I find very interesting. Unhinged to any particular music scene.
Uh-huh.
Now, did you ever feel it was a challenge to network or connect with artists if that's what you were doing because of your left of center sound?
Absolutely. Well, I would challenge the premise at least when I was trying to do that. I think that's part of the story is like I was I don't know, without giving too much away, I guess like part of that well that was like written between myself and the label manager Matthew David. So the word choice unhinged is funny to me, but um I like tried to chase scenes before, I think, like consciously out of insecurity and wanting to fit in and just wanting to play the game in that way and that seeming like the way to do it. I joke, I use this term like the techno triarchy and like just the dance music scene, like maybe 7 to 8 years ago ish, maybe give or take. Sort of like the post like when it moved from like the post dubsteppy early 2010s vibe into like when house and techno was like really just being a straightforward force again in like in a hipster kind of way, like I think that was the beginning of a lot of it was a great creative scene, I think, but it was the beginning of a lot of stress for me personally, like just in terms of like fitting in and like disillusionment. So and I didn't realize I'd be one of these people, but I guess I'm an artist that puts stuff out like every 5 to 7 years now, which I'm trying to change that moving forward. But yeah, just like I kind of had to like completely just dip out for a minute and take care of some stuff, and in doing so, I think I got on this like left of center sound through that process. Now, someone could listen to my music and completely disagree with me and say it was like that before, but to me, like, this is how I listen to some of my older stuff and I think, like, yeah, there's some ideas here, but like the structure of this piece of music, the structure, the way this album is like laid out, it feels to me like, this is my tortured artist bullshit, but like it feels to me like I'm trying to like do some kind of template. And this to me feels less tied to that prompt. It's just sort of like a collection of pieces of music that aren't necessarily linked by any like ideology of rhythm or something. If anything, it's more of a like chord similarity, like a harmonic sensibility than a rhythmic genre sensibility. Which is a fun project to undertake. I mean, it kind of just ended up like that by chance, but I think that's I think that's a convoluted way of trying to explain what that means in the write up. Yeah.
When it comes to electronic music, especially in the early 2010s, a lot of it is, especially the stuff that was getting popular, was rooted in dance and party stuff, right? And especially like the EDM boom that was happening commercially. Did you ever feel any pressure to adapt to that kind of style?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, and I still make dance music. Like, I don't want to abandon that. It's like I just did a remix for my friend Liam. That's like a straightforward, like two-step garage thing. Like, if anything, moving away from it a little bit in terms of fitting into a box makes it easier to make. Like, I would feel more comfortable making a dance EP now that am not tied to it. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was. I'm also describing like there was a minute in like the early 2010s. I'm thinking of like the James Blakes and the Hessel Audios of the world and the Mount Kimbeys of the world and that whole like scene. That was sort of like UK and then there was LA going on. And that's a whole thing I could get into. But like, it's like that was sort of just playing with the form, which was really interesting. And then we just sort of went back to just people making four on the floor house and techno tracks, and they were like great tracks. Don't get me wrong, but it was just this like it got so into DJ and party culture and the sort of the anonymous producer persona, which is really a big part of this to me. That was like trying to put out, especially on social media, through scarcity of communication, like trying to craft this sort of like semi-anonymous, very cool dude persona that these guys like tried to, and the way that like, yeah, and the way that DJing played into it, and also the way that women were part of the scene, I didn't really appreciate, and just, yeah, like it wasn't like toxic or anything. Um, I'm sure there are people in it that are toxic, and there was aspects of it that are unhealthy or whatever. But it's like I'm not gonna wholesale say that it was fine. But it was more like me as an individual. It was like a square peg round hole situation, and it was really like I did feel a lot of pressure to like play that game and be like, why am I not getting booked at these DJ shows? Like, why is this going on? Why is that going on? And then feeling like just kind of checking out and I made an ambient record. So, but I did it a few years ago, and now it's all the rage again. And it's like now I'm worried about getting pigeonholed as an ambient artist. So it's like that. Maybe the lesson is like whatever path you take, like yeah, it's like if you, I guess it's about decoupling the work from my identity. Like I feel like a lot of artists struggle with that, and I think just that era of the scene, it felt like the persona and the work were very tightly integrated in this way that was unhealthy for me personally. And now I can be the clown or whatever, and it doesn't matter, and I can still take my music seriously. And like, I don't think those two things are in competition with each other, and that's different than back then for sure. Yeah.
Are you a party goer, or did you ever go to a lot of parties?
I love partying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't. I mean, yeah, I went to a DJ thing last night. It's yeah. I mean, I'm not like in the club circuit and like following everything. But if there's someone that I enjoy, I'm gonna try to make an effort. But I got all kind of stuff. Yeah.
When you go to these parties, Are you listening to what people are enjoying and taking it into how you make your music?
Yeah, sure, I guess so. Yeah, maybe I don't like experience it that way, interpret it that way, but yeah, sure. I mean, like I'm more like I think it's more of a there's a threshold of am I just like chilling somewhere and maybe listening and sort of maybe feeling a little anxious and like hanging on the side and drinking, or are you like actually uninhibited and dancing? Um, and for some people that's more of a gray area and there's you can kind of come and go, but for me it seems like if I'm going to go out and to the club or whatever, it's going to end up being one of those nights. Like I'm going to either like sort of mosey around and maybe pay attention to like some of the production elements of the track they're playing or something stupid like that. But like no, if I'm like in it, like I'll just dance for 8 hours, and just like be totally like destroyed at the end of it. It's really fun. I went to Nowadays to see Fortet and Floating Points a few months ago or like last year, and it was like that. Yeah, it was just like I went by myself. No one bothered me. God bless their staff. Like it's a really cool environment there, and I just like did it for. I don't even remember what they played. It's just like I didn't. If I took anything in, it was just more like it's just like a mental health thing. It just makes you feel good. Like if you're just in a better space and you're inspired by something, ideas are gonna get out. Yeah.
Have you ever DJ'd yourself?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, I mean I've played some DJ gigs. There's some pretty decent ones back, maybe 7 years ago. But I feel again, yeah, it's like getting pigeonholed. Like I would totally DJ whatever, and I have like heavy shit. Like it's not like I'm. But I think people like I put out a couple records like this, and I get it. I'm not like salty about it or trying not to be salty about it, but because it's like, oh, why can't you book me to do this completely different thing and do this, and it's like, and have it all. And it's just like, it's hard to put that forward publicly. So, um, yeah, I guess like with record cycles and stuff, it's best to like, I guess, focus on that sort of performance and stuff. So I think the DJ gigs have been fewer and further between recently. Like I play like private parties and stuff, like friends and stuff. Yeah.
Speaking of booking, have you ever found it difficult or challenging to book shows making the music that you make?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to air a grievance or anything, but it's yeah, I know I've been chugging along at this for like over a decade, and it's I only had a booking agent very briefly for like a year, like probably about 10 years ago, maybe 9 years ago. Um and got some good gigs from it. He was great. But yeah, that's always been something that's evaded me, and I don't know what it is. And it seems like it's I don't think it's like a an audience or reach level, because I feel like there's peers of mine that have a similar audience that like, you know, I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but it's yeah. It is difficult to self-book everything. I haven't tried it in a long time though. Like I haven't tried to like travel for music outside of like a one-off show, and like it's been at least 5 years, if not longer. Yeah. So I'm trying to get some stuff together right now, actually. But it's funny you asked that. Yeah, just because the reality of what's going on in the world is hitting hard, and it's we'll see. And I'm optimistic. It'll be fun. I'm trying to do the West Coast like in the fall, basically. So
The reason why I asked is because for years, every time, because I've been connected to like small local music scenes and whatever, interviewing artists and whatever. And some people ask me, "Yeah, I'm putting a show together. Do you know any bands?" I'm like, "Oh, I know that band." And then they're like, what do they sound like?" And I'm like, "Oh, they kind of sound like this." And they're like, "That's not what I'm looking for." And I see a lot of artists when they're looking for bands to play with in a certain town. They're like, "You have to must sound like so and so and so and so." Like, did you ever if you ever like get approached for a show and you explain what you sound like, do a lot of people say, that's not what I'm looking for?
yeah,
Oh.
yeah. I mean, like I would say that actual experience has never happened because I just haven't asked in that way, Like I haven't just like cold emailed and been like it's usually supporting someone else. The trick is like building the bill, and yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting element. Like I do feel like it's never a great match. Like there's things that seem obvious in retrospect, but like, side by side, like it's not necessarily to me like that similar. But I kind of like that. Like I kind of like the idea of being the support, for someone who maybe has a more like, and I don't mean this condescendingly, but like a more definable pitch as a live act, and like that's why they're the headliner, so to speak, because they're successful at that. But yeah, like yeah, I like the idea of like bringing some novelty or something to a bill, but it does create friction when you're trying to like build something. Um, I don't know. I'm playing a show with Sam Wilkes next month, and I think that is like one of a few I've done recently that seems like really like a good booking. Not just because we're on the same label, although that is convenient, but like I don't know. There's just a kinship there, even though it's sonically not exactly the same. There's like a sensibility that I think is like the audience gets it. Maybe it's an unspoken thing, but yeah.
So you had a few musicians on the album. You had a cellist, a marimba player, and some woodwind. What's your connection to all these musicians on the album?
Um. Well, it's all different. I mean, I've known Will Shore for a while. Just through the scene and
What scene? The scene?
New
What
York
scene?
City, baby.
Cool.
New York, New York. I mean, like Will's in this band Tomboy, and I met them, and like they did a Newtown Radio a couple times, and I think I like showed them some stuff and met them. Um, Played some shows I think together. I can't pinpoint exactly, but um, yeah, Will also does this. He did this like group. Oh, I'm gonna fuck up the reference. It's like this kind of jazz conducting that he does with this like large group, get the Dirty Squirrels, and then they renamed it to another group. Sorry, I haven't had enough coffee this morning. But yeah, like I'm just a fan of his, and he's a great vibraphone and marimba player. And I had this piece for years ready to go. I think I wrote that piece with the marimba at the end in like 2014 on like just an Ableton with like a arpeggiator, but he re-recorded some, so you're hearing some of the MIDI and some of his marimba. Um, and let's see, Nina, I think through the internet initially, and then I hung out with her for a weekend in Philadelphia before she moved to LA. We made some music. Yeah, that's more of a like just whatever quote unquote ambient music scene, internet stuff. Um, Jasper was a hired gun. That's the most interesting part. My friend Ryan Howe, who's one of the engineers that did some of the studio stuff on the record, he's moved studios a few times, and I remember going to an opening party for one of the like newer iterations of his studio, and he had these woodwind players play, and that was really, I think Jasper was there. And then I saw a couple years later, or like the next year, I saw at Pioneer Works. I saw at the Terry Riley 80th birthday, like two-day thing, and they had this saxophone quartet play what I think called Mandala Miniatures, and it's this kind of lesser known Terry Riley suite of like 30-second little quartet saxophone pieces. But it was one of the most incredible things I've ever heard in my life. Like it was an amazing. I can't find recordings of anything anywhere. Like it was never really recorded in full. It's just sort of something he wrote like on tour in Logic. Anyway, that's not why Jasper is there, but that's why I was like, okay, I want to ask my friend Ryan if he knows anyone, because I want to do something here. And there's a little bit of it in the record. I think Mixo World probably is like the closest to that actual idea. But yeah, it ended up being the guy from the party. And it was the only time I've really like written down everything in advance and had sheet music ready to go and like send it over to someone and said like please play these parts, and then they came in, and it was like one day and just absolutely nailed it, like the best session I've ever had in the studio with someone. Just I was giving them like vague instruction, like can you do it like more like Big Bird Bebop New York City style? like Sesame Street vibe, and there's like, yeah, of course, and it just exactly what I meant, like, um, and yeah, I don't know, it just like, but my point is that it was such a like huge impact on the record because these woodwinds are like all over it, and it's like a really big part of the sound, and like some of it was on there with MIDI before, but yeah, for just someone to come in and make such a big splash, and it to be the collaborator that I hadn't met before, it was a risk, but it was like I'm so happy with how it turned out, and they did such a good job, and I just owe such a tremendous like debt to Jasper for the performance all over there. So
When you
that's
talk
how I know
about,
everyone.
yeah, when you talk about sheet music, did you write all the parts to all the instruments on this album?
No, 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 not at all. No, I have like I can read it. I can read sheet music very slowly and with a lot of stress. But like no, this was like after the fact. I transcribed specific parts. Like I had done most of the tracks, and I had MIDI horns on it, which I just played on the keyboard, which without sheet music, just improvising and just by ear, and then having to go back and like listen to it and actually transcribe it to sheet music. I mean, I cheated a little bit. You can like um, you can import MIDI into Sibelius or whatever. So I just exported the MIDI from Ableton and put it in there, and then it was a little messed up, so I just cleaned it up a little bit and then printed it out or whatever. No, that is not part of my practice normally. I mean, I'll do it if I need to. Like if I want to get a string whatever, like I'm gonna do it. It's annoying and treacherous and a lot of like busy work, but sure.
What instruments do you play?
I play guitar and keys probably like equally, I'd say.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I can play other stuff too, but I don't own like I can, like a drum kit or bass. I play bass for people sometimes, but I don't actually own one. But yeah, it's mostly just guitar and guitar keys and the computer.
There you go. Great instrument, the computer. One of my favorite songs off of
Yeah.
Spiro World is definitely No Furniture. It clocks in at 8 minutes, 25 seconds.
Okay.
And to you, what are some of the pros and cons of putting out
Uh-huh.
a song at this length in this day and age? We're in the TikTok world. 10, 15-second clips is all the rage.
Uh wow. Well, I mean I would say I mean this is a non-answer, and the TikTok world wouldn't care, but it is two tracks. So it's like a two movements. Tanagra is like the second part of it. I don't know. I guess I don't give a shit. Like about the length. Like I don't listen to music that way, and I don't think the people that listen to my music listen to music that way. So it's like, I mean, I put a live album out with like 25-minute tracks on it, so it's not like new for me, I guess. I also think that there's certain things that need longer time for the idea to be developed, even if that means you're looping something for another minute or two. Like, I think there's something psychoacoustic about that, and um, I think it's the right length. I don't know. I mean, some people I've read some reviews online where some people thought it was a little repetitive or whatever, but I get that. Um, but I also like don't think that matters. Like because you can just clip the climax of the track and make that a TikTok, and the song could be an hour long. Like so. Like I think if you're gonna have virality, it doesn't matter if people are listening to the whole song. Like top 40 radio tracks, like a lot of times there's whole intros that they just don't. You never hear them unless you go and listen to it on your phone or whatever, because they just cut it out. So it's yeah.
Do you ever feel like you lose people when you play some of your lengthy songs live?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, people start walking out. No, no. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't want to. I don't want to get like I'm not so the thing is like I feel like sometimes I get thought of it because of some of the stuff I put out as like this like woohoo hippie crystal girl, and it's like not. I'm not like a new age spiritual person. Like I mean I would say I'm a spiritual person in my own way, but like it's not like that, you know. Um but like I don't know. I think the practice borrows something from like, you know, what people will call spiritual jazz. Um and I think that like devotion to that like it's entrancing, right? I mean, it's like it's why techno songs are 8 minutes long and repetitive. It's exactly the same thing. I mean, maybe that's part of what I'm doing. I don't know. Maybe I was like maybe I was techno pilled like 7 years ago, and I've somehow like tried to translate that through the genre or something subconsciously. I'm like just now having this like epiphany. No, yeah, it's I don't know. That's a hard question to answer. I don't think the live version feels the same way. Because it's more everything's more blends together. It's like all one long thing. Although the past couple shows I've actually stopped in between songs for like the first time in a long time. And like, you know, wait, hold for applause. But yeah. Usually it's like a long just a long piece. So like if I'm losing you, I'm losing you completely. It's not just one movement of it.
So your shows are almost like a unique experience.
I wouldn't say it's unique. I think a lot of people do that. It's just a delay. It's just a delay battle.
No, I mean like it's a unique experience from listening to your album. You're not just getting
Oh,
song, song,
absolutely.
song. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, absolutely. I mean, I just did a release show, and I tried actually to play the record pretty close to the record. Just like go through it, but you know, it's always going to be different. I no, I do think that there's a whole I love a different live practice, things sounding different. I mean, I'm trying to get a band together. You know, I would have long improvisational segments that don't have any, you know, track that they're referencing on the record or anything. Yeah, I mean, I like to be surprised when I see an artist. Like, I don't want them. If it's like Bruce Springsteen or something, I understand if you like need to get your song list out or whatever, or, you know, like. But I don't know. I think it's cool to like put a little show together. You know, show them the old razzle dazzle.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah,
an
why not?
entertainer. Give them the whole package.
Especially these days, it's difficult to get people out of the house, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
What songs on Spiro World are love letters to New York, or is it the entire album?
I would say the entire album is, and then the write up says that the songs were love letters, plural. But I would say that the whole thing, yeah, it's about New York, sort of. It's more that it's a little autobiographical, and it just covers a period of time, and yeah, I mean I've been here that whole time, and also sonically there's just a lot of references to the it's like I think the downtown scene in like the 70s and 80s is like somewhere in the record, just like references to that. I mean, there's a Laurie Spiegel reference up top at the beginning of the record as well. Like that's so stuff like that. Yeah, it's just like it's referential and reverential.
Good word. Good word. Kay, thank you so much for coming on My Little Underground and talking about
Thank
Time
you.
Warp. Where can people listen, purchase, steal this album?
Steal this album, System of a Down, 2003, I believe, 2 or 3, great record. Yeah, you can get it on. Well, you can get it everywhere fine music is sold. Um, I don't. I mean, you can get it on Spotify. I could get into that, but yeah, the best place to get it if you really want to help out would be Bandcamp. But the even better one would be leavingrecords.com because it's like a direct. There's no middleman. You can get the vinyl there. You can get the cassette. You can get digital. Um, yeah, leavingrecords.com. Support independent music.
Okay, that's right. You heard it from Kaye Loggins.
Have a good one. Thanks so
You
much.
too. Bye bye.